And good morning, everyone. If we can have programming turned down just a bit in our ear, I'm just letting our producer Brady know. But yeah, it's 8:15. You guys are watching Extra Shot, and we're going to get right into some of the topics. Sam, I'm going to take this out. It's really distracting.
Yeah, we're hearing Good Morning America in our ear.
I'm hearing Robin Roberts in my ear as I speak. It's that devastating story, right? This happened at the Yankees game last night. A little girl, only 2 years old, gets smacked in the face with a ball that was going 105 miles per hour.
Yeah, it was
this
a
is
foul
right
ball.
off the bat. So Frazier, the last name of the hitter, smacked the ball. It's a foul ball. Boom, right into the little girl's face. Apparently, and this is all according to, it was someone who was there, and I believe it was one of the paramedics who wasn't necessarily supposed to say anything, but we are learning now that she was hit in the nose and then also in her eye, so she was bleeding everywhere. This is just what eyewitnesses are saying. They were in the stands going, "Oh my gosh, it was brutal." Well,
I mean,
the good news is that
Kevin
she is
Frazier.
okay.
Scary.
She is okay, and as of this morning, she's going to be okay. But yeah, you see him there, everyone taking a knee. That's what you do when a player is down. In this case, it was someone in the stands. But the bigger conversation out of this sparks up, well, how wide should those protective nets behind the plate stretch, right?
Yeah.
Because right now at Yankee Stadium, and this is according to New York Times, they had said that there is a net, there's a protective net, and it's been a discussion for a lot of years as to how far that net should span.
Right.
A lot of the people who pay a lot of money to go to these games say, well, we don't need that protective net because of the distraction. The franchise hasn't done much to expand it, obviously, but they're saying that if this would have been expanded far enough, like some other stadiums, and we'll get into that, already have, this little girl would not be in the situation she's in this morning.
Right, right.
So it brings up that question,
Yeah.
how much protection do we need at the baseball field? And then how mandatory should it be?
Sure, and Todd Frazier, who is a stellar athlete, by the way, he has 2 kids under the age of 3, and so you saw in the reactions by everyone, I mean, look at his face there. He is devastated that this happened,
Guilty.
and all of the players, all of the athletes on the field and even in the dugouts all took a knee, started praying. I mean, this was a big deal. So, Todd Frazier, you're expecting to hear from the players, do you think that they should keep the netting the way it is, or do you think they should extend it? And he answered that question yesterday, so take a listen.
We do have a soundbite. Not sure if it's going to play right now.
Okay. Oh, they're getting it.
Okay, they're good.
What went through your mind when you saw something like that?
I thought of my kids. I have 2 kids under 3 years old, and just hope she's all right.
Do you think in the stadium they're supposed to
The fact that he has 2 little girls, he's just saying how terrible he feels.
I think the netting should be up. I think every stadium
There
should
you
have
go.
it, but we're not at that point yet. So.
Okay, so he said, I think that every stadium should have the netting extended, but that we're not at that point yet. And we know that MLB has gone through to a few stadiums. It sounds like at this point, it's not a league mandate for MLB to do that. It is kind of a state mandate, I believe, is what our producer mentioned, that they can take it among, themselves. And if they decide that they want to do this, they can. But should the MLB start requiring this? And Megan, you mentioned, people who pay a lot of money to be in those seats. Yes, I understand that argument, but also you think about the fact that, these balls are coming at 100 miles per hour.
More, yeah.
And they can write on the back of the seats, be aware of flying objects like balls and bats, and they can put on the back of your ticket, we are not liable. But at what point is it just you're allowing this to potentially end up really badly for somebody out there? When is it that big of a deal to add the net? I mean, you can see through it everywhere else behind the plate.
And we're seeing that it probably needs to happen, because if I'm not mistaken, at this one stadium alone, it's happened 3
times in a month.
3 times in a month.
New York Times is saying that. And not just balls, but bats too, broken bats, because they use the wooden bats at that level.
So at some point as an organization, you have to think about liability, right? So if I were someone and I go to this game and I know that I just got clobbered in the head with a ball, and then I find out, oh shoot, this has happened 2 other times this past month, then I'm going to assume or say to myself, okay, so as an organization, they're not doing what they need to do to make sure that these things don't happen, not because they could happen, they are happening.
Yeah.
Right.
So with that said, and I'm someone, I'll watch baseball if it's on. I've been to a couple of baseball games. Am I a baseball super fan? No. But I don't see that big of a deal in putting a net or some type of extended border or guard up if it means that I don't lose X amount of dollars and people don't get hurt while they're in my stadium watching an organization that I'm backing playing. So I don't
Right.
see what the big deal is.
Well, MLB
Maybe that's just me.
Commissioner Rob Manfred back in 2013 said that all 30 teams in the MLB had agreed to extend or to have some sort of netting behind the plate. So this happened. About a third of the teams have extended the netting even further. Yankees not being part of that equation. At least far end of the dugout. The Mets adding netting even beyond that. So the Mets taking this very seriously. The Yankees have yet to expand their nets, as we know. They did issue a statement though back in August that said that they were seriously exploring this option. We are at the toward the end of September, and they're probably going, dang, we should have taken action a little sooner, because now we're in a situation where, and it's just to clear it up, 3 times this season so far, not necessarily this month, which is still a lot, 3 times this season, that someone has been injured like this.
And what you're looking at here is actually the Mets stadium, and it's showing how far beyond the dugout the netting does go. And you know,
wow, they have it
all the way around. And it comes up high too. It's not a lower net as you get closer to the end of the foul lines, but it is actually up high. And I have worked for a baseball organization, and they had the netting that was up high as well. And I've seen at the collegiate level and at high school levels that they will also do this.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people who are the naysayers on this, I've seen the argument going around on social media. Part of the reason why I want to sit on that level of the stadium without the netting is so I can go get the autographs before the game, or I can catch the foul balls. Sometimes that's why these parents will bring their kids to the game and pay money for those first few seats with their glove in hand so that they can be a part of that experience. But at what point is that experience worth it if your child cannot defend themselves? This poor 2-year-old little girl, I am not blaming her family at all, but it just goes to show that this can happen, and somebody can think that they're being so alert and so ready for whatever's coming at them, but it's a mistake. And obviously these baseball players don't mean to have any of this stuff happen, but the bats break all the time, and so you just think, what's the big harm in it? Is the reward of getting a foul ball every once in a while worth the risk?
Right, and it sounds like at this point, yes, the Yankees are going to have to step into play. I see here New York City Councilman Rafael Espinal said, he introduced legislation back in May to require all New York City baseball stadiums to have this netting, and now after the incident that went down last night, he's holding a public hearing on October 25th. So I'm sure at that public hearing it's going to be mandatory, even more so like right now.
And again, when something happens more than a few times, even though as a fan you want to get the good seats, you want to catch a foul ball like Dina was saying, and maybe that game nobody catches a foul ball, so you're paying for seats and you're taking a gamble. But as an organization and as a business, nobody can afford to take a gamble on safety when you've been seeing people get hurt in the stands. Like, they just can't, as a business, you just can't do that.
And I'm seeing your comments this morning, and we're getting comments on both sides of the aisle. Deb Tids-Busani, good morning to you. I hope I pronounced that right. Deb said it's extremely unfortunate this happened, but at the same time, when you choose to sit in those seats, you have to realize that there's always that chance of being hit by the ball. And then Trisha Archuleta kind of agrees, saying, unfortunately, those are the cons of getting those seats. And so, is it just that we're supposed to accept that, though, as the final answer? Like, well, I know what I'm getting when I sit in those seats. What if you're someone who's never been to a baseball game before? Are you supposed to do your research? Are you supposed to look up how safe will this be for my 12-year-old if I want to sit here? It's a baseball game. So I just don't know how far.
But is it too common sense? You're at a baseball game at the Major League Baseball level. You know what happens when a ball connects with the bat. It gets smacked into the outfield on a good day. On other days, if you swing too fast or too slow, it's either going to the left or right, or it's going up.
Behind you,
but the left or right is where it becomes an issue, because that's where most times, as we're finding out, 2/3 of the MLB do not have the extended netting. I see Bill Hudson move the kids behind the screen, been the right move for decades, so it kind of sounds like he's saying, no, we don't necessarily need all that, because it does change the game. I will say, having played softball competitively my entire growing up, when you go to these games, when you start to get to that upper level, things become, you don't have to wear the face masks all the time. Things become a little bit more aggressive and a little more appealing to the eye, too. And so for the fencing, like, I would know if my grandma's coming to the game, they would sit right behind home plate, because they knew that that's where the fence went all the way up. The minute you go to the left or right, you're taking that chance, and if you don't have a quick hand, even if you do, but you're grabbing a pretzel, that's the risk you take. So I do get that side of it, because it changes the view of the game, but at what cost?
But and then, as too, when you talk about sports and the way things used to be, football players could ram into each other's heads as
True.
much as they wanted to, and eventually we learned that you can't do that anymore, or you're going to get CTE. So,
Right.
just the idea of, because things were this way, they don't necessarily need to change. I think we kind of get out of that,
Yeah.
because again, we didn't always have to wear seatbelts. But you don't need a seatbelt until you need a seatbelt.
Right.
Well,
And I
too
think
late.
that is a very good statement, specifically when you're talking about the game of baseball. It's America's pastime. It's the one sport that not a lot has changed when it comes to, some rules have changed over the years. The replay rule, of course, is one of them. But for the most part, this is one of those sports that you never really had to change much to it. With football, even with basketball, there have been a lot of changes with hoops and backboards and everything else. But baseball's kind of maintained its identity from the beginning in a way. And, they've had to make some alterations along the way. But to do something like a net, I think is, in my opinion, as a fan of the game, it's not, for me, worth going to one of those games and seeing a 2-year-old get hit in the face and potentially not come out of that. I would expect that the stadium, the organization, the management team, the franchise would do something to protect those little kids who are going to be sitting up close with their parents.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's going to happen. And
Yeah.
Mike Cornelia saying, oh, it doesn't need to happen, right? Doesn't need to until it needs to.
Until it needs to.
Trisha Archuleta saying same sort of thing with getting the front row at a rock concert. You risk getting rushed and smashed against the stage. That's why I don't buy those particular tickets. It's your choice. So maybe if a stadium, unlike Yankee Stadium, because it sounds like they're pretty on it now.
Yeah.
But if another stadium out there goes, oh, we still don't really think it's necessary, even though some little girl got smacked in the face, happens. Like if they feel that way, they can say, maybe we'll put a disclaimer. If you buy any ticket that's outside of the protective netting lines, it says on the tickets, be aware.
Yeah.
A foul ball may come your way or a bat may come flying towards your face. Like, and even then people will go, oh, not me. It's not going to happen to me until it happens
Until
to
it
you. So
happens to you.
we see the comments. We appreciate you guys chiming in. Of course, there's going to be two sides of every story here.
Yes, and
Wow.
we're glad that there are. But
Yeah.
again, we'll be giving you an update as well when we hear more about what the Yankees plan to do and how soon they plan to do it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
October 26th, October 25th hearing
There we
that
go.
they'll have in New York City.